Namaste, hello and welcome to NCRT's live phone-in program. This is a social science session and we're going to talk about drawing and interpreting simple visuals in economics. You're watching us live on PME Vidya channel number 10 for all the standard 10 students. This is for all of you. So let's meet our expert. We have with us Professor M.V. Srinivasan. Welcome, sir. Sir is from Department of Education and Social Sciences, NCERT, and Sir has done another session earlier regarding tables. So I would request Sir to explain, sum up that session in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Tanvi. First of all, let me thank CIT for giving this opportunity to share some of my ideas with regard to economics the children learn at the secondary stage. My dear viewers, in the last session, maybe 2 weeks before, we discussed about data in social sciences, how to analyze data in social sciences. I also discussed with you that how the tables can be analyzed and what are the important points then you need to take when you are looking at the numbers. You know that numbers are very important for economics people. They are called economists. And numbers are also important for the government, so that the effectiveness of government will be revealed in the form of numbers actually. Look at the screen. If you look at the screen, you can see that last time, in the last meeting, in the last session, what are the important points that we have discussed. I am just summing up in a few points. The first idea that the generally economists, they generate knowledge about the economy, all the economic activities in the form of numbers. They are all coming in the form of numerical data. I also discussed with you that when you are looking at the table, which aspect you have to see first, how you can write about it actually, which can come little later. Thirdly, we also discussed about how you can describe. You need to describe what is not there in the table. You should not repeat what is there in the table. Fourthly, you also have to look for reasons why the table is showing similar phenomena. For that purposes, you have to go beyond textbooks. You have to read newspapers, you have to watch television regularly, you have to need like books outside the textbook area. You also have to acquire some simple mathematical skills like calculating percentages, calculating using the subtraction, addition, proportions and so on. So these are the things that we discussed last time. Okay. But if you look at tables alone cannot be helpful. Okay, and you need to go beyond table actually. And also when you are presenting ideas in social sciences, that needs to be appealing actually. So the tables may not be an appropriate tool. We need to go beyond table. If you look at say 150 years before, economists, they used to write books and books. They will be having thousands of text actually. But today, if you look at today's scenario is visuals. Children like visuals. People easily understand the visuals. So economists also convert these text into tables and then from tables to text actually. Let me give you an example. Look at the screen. This screen contains the data on employment and GDP. You must have already studied in the first chapter about how many people are employed in different sectors. So this table tells you the proportion of people employed in agriculture, industry and services. So this is available in the form of numbers. Okay, so these numbers would be better if you are able to convert it into visual. So there are 3 data. So you can convert, one of the visual media is to look at something called pie diagram. I am sure you must have learned in mathematics class how to draw a pie diagram. See this pie diagram, generally look at the screen again. So this pie diagram is having different angles, totally about 360 degrees. Okay, so I am sure you must have studied in class 8th or 9th how to draw a pie diagram. So you can use this data on agriculture, industry and services and draw this pie diagram. So look at the pie diagram. So this pie diagram very much revealing than the table. Okay, so when you are looking at the table, it gives you numbers, but it will not tell you how much size actually. So if you look at this pie diagram, it tell you that half of the people, okay, nearly half of the people employed in India are in agriculture sector. So industry and services are all almost like a quarter. Okay, and if you look at how much we produce, something called gross domestic product, you will find more than 58 is coming from the service sector. Okay, see, when you are looking at the two pie diagrams, you are able to understand, you can explain much better than looking at the table actually.
Right.
So that is the advantage of a visual. You can understand the phenomena and you can explain the phenomena much better actually. Okay, so for anybody who knows economics, who does not know economics, they can understand if you are using the visual data. So the pie diagram is an important visual we all have to learn. I also noticed that many teachers who have been teaching social sciences in your like in your schools, you need to learn how to draw a pie diagram. You require two these protractor. Okay, you also need to know how to calculate the degrees actually. You can ask, if you are a teacher teaching social sciences, you can ask your children how these pie diagrams, because they have learnt in mathematics. So now teachers can learn from the students how to draw a pie diagram. So this is an important skill one has to acquire. That. So one simple tool is the pie diagram. So the pie diagram, if you look at the screen again, pie diagram can tell you the proportion. Okay, and when you are drawing a pie diagram, you cannot have so many data. So here only 3 data is given: agriculture, industry, services. Okay, if there are 10 data, then you cannot use this pie diagram. If you are having more than 5-6 data also, pie diagram may not be explaining to you or may not be a better tool actually. So you have to look for some other tool. What is this some other tool actually? So let me give another example. Look at the screen again. This data you must have seen in my earlier presentations when you are listening to the video on development, what is development and so on. Okay, suppose you have a data on this is the data from the Human Development Indicator, Human Development Report for the year 2017. So this data will tell you the performance of 6 countries, India's neighbors actually: Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Pakistan, Nepal and Bangladesh. So if there are 6 data in 4 columns, how this can be presented? Okay, what kind of visuals you can use it actually. So I am going to discuss about this table. So look at the first column. First column contains data on country names, and the second column contains the data on income, per capita income. Okay, if this is the 6 data is available, I already told you if it is a 3 data, you can use pie diagram for comparison purposes. But comparison means you need to within this sector you can do it actually, within a particular data. But here different statistics is given. In this case, my view would be that you can use this is called bar diagram. In simple words, technically it's called column bar diagram. You can use a simple scale and draw this diagram. So this will tell you by looking at the visual itself that which country is having highest per capita income. So in your table, the numbers, you have to read the numbers, okay, and then see the phenomena and where India is performing. Whereas when you are looking at the visual will tell you much better than. So the bar diagram would be an appropriate tool when you want to interpret or explain the numbers actually, numbers of per capita income. Okay, so if there are 6 countries or 7 countries, you can use the bar diagram. And what will happen if you are using more than 6-7 numbers? So for that purposes, like my suggestion would be that you can use something called cluster bar diagram. Okay, so in the cluster bar diagram on the x-axis, the details of the per capita income is given. Okay, on the x-axis, the details of per capita income is given. On the y-axis, country names are given. Okay, so this has more space for countries actually. Tanvir, can you tell me which are the countries which are having highest per capita income?
USA.
USA is having the highest per capita income.
Right.
What is the second country?
Japan.
So who is performing, who is in the last in terms of per capita income? India. So by looking at it actually, rather looking at the numbers, by looking at these bars, the horizontal horizontal bars, you can easily come to know.
Yes.
Okay, so this kind of diagram is called clustered bar charts.
So sir, you have given various type of graphs. How would we get to know that which particular type of graph is suitable for which description?
That's a very good question. So if you want to know about which graph that you want to use, if you want to compare a particular attribute and different, for example, employment.
Right.
If it is an employment, and within employment if there are categories, agriculture, industry, services, then pie diagram would be more appropriate. Okay. And whereas you are having a list of countries, list of states, and you are having income, in that case it's a bar diagram would be more appropriate. Okay. So if you want to compare different sectors within the same data, then you can use the pie diagram. But if you are using the data like, so this is depending on the data and how the data is available, how much quantum of data, you can decide the visual. Okay. So let me so we have looked at the bar diagram. Let me go to the next diagram. If you look at this life expectancy at birth, it's called a scatter plot. It's called a scatter plot. It's very interesting that this scatter plot is a tool which can understand. One look at the video. If you look at the video, you can see one economist, Hans. He has used scatter plot, and he is able to explain 200 years of economic history. 200 years of economic history in just 4 minutes. Okay, so I'm showing you a video. You can watch for yourself, and I would strongly recommend you that when you are getting chances to look at the internet, look for this Hans. You just type Hans in statistics, it will automatically come in YouTube actually. So look at the video. So viewers, I think there is some technical problem in terms of audio. The audio is not coming. Okay, you can watch the video, no problem. Here what Hans is doing, that he is explaining how countries, all the developed countries, developing countries, he used the scatter plot. Okay, he used a virtual scatter plot, and he is explaining how in the last 200 years how countries have grown, particularly in one development indicator, something called life expectancy. How many years people are able to live. The larger circle shows the population size. Smaller circle means smaller population size. Okay. So he is describing how in 200 years before, what was the life expectancy. Okay. If you look at 200 years before, most countries, they were on the lowest. Look at the 40, that means only people were not even able to live for 40 years. 200 years before, that was the situation. He was also showing the many countries. Okay, so how it happens? See, when the years are growing, slowly countries are showing their developmental path. Look at it actually. So the way he is just describing, he uses only small tool called scatter plot. Okay, as the plot increases, okay, the more and more countries, and their income also increases. On the x-axis, you have the data on income, and on the y-axis, you have data on how many years people are able to live. Okay, so these days, using technology, economists use this kind of scatter plots. You see 1930s, you will find the large circle, two circles which are on the lowest, can you just recall, can you easily guess which are these countries? I told you already, population size is denoted in the form of circle. Which are those red colored two countries? If you look at the countries, which country highest populated country in the world?
China
and India. So these two circles are showing the data on India and China. Okay, so if you look at this, you see how the countries are 1940s, India and China. Okay, Pakistan, Bangladesh. These are all big circles actually. In 1940s, they were still below 40 years. Okay, and if you look at, see how fast. In the last 50 years, how the life expectancy, people are able to live long. See how we are able to live, we are just both India and China and other countries, how they are moving. Okay.
They're growing.
They are just growing, that means they are going in the upper side, means their income also growing, and then their life expectancy, number of years they are able to live, that is also growing. You see, that is the way Hans has used scatter plot to explain how India and China and other countries are going up in the health indicator, something called life expectancy. Okay, that's a very wonderful use of the statistical tool here, the scatter plot actually. Okay, and if he is also explaining that within China, Some regions, the life expectancy is much better actually. Okay. So this is one way you can use the scatter plot to explain the developmental data or economic data. Okay. Let me give you one more example. Let me go to my screen PPT. So scatter plot can be used to understand how countries can develop. Okay, it can be used in the statistical tool like technology. It can be used in the dynamic manner actually. So if you look at my screen, now I am going to the next data. What will happen if you are having huge data of states, different states actually? The data here that how many people, how many families are using public distribution system.
Okay.
Okay. How many families are going to ration shops and buy rice and wheat actually?
So this is the data of 2011-12.
11-12. Okay. So if you look at this data, the rice data is given in the column 2, 3 and then 4, 5 wheat data is given for different states. Okay. If this is the data, when you are writing something, you cannot recall all the numbers here. Okay. And it is very difficult to remember. How you can do it actually? I asked my student, like one of my how this can be used. So if you look at, we can use the India map. Okay, how you can use India map? Look at this. If you look at my screen, like if you look at my, so this is the India map can be easily used for explaining this.
So can you put it here and then show it to our audience?
So if you look at India map, actually, like look at here. So you can see here, and yes, I am just okay. So this is the data on the percentages. The data may be looking in a different direction. So this is the same table which I showed in your screen actually. So what you can do, you can just use this India map. Okay.
This is the political map.
This is India political map. Okay. And then second step, what you need to do, you can change the data, you can arrange the proportion in a ascending or descending order.
Okay.
Okay. For example, Jharkhand is having the lowest, hardly 1% people purchased paddy from PDS actually. That was the reason in 2011-12.
Okay.
Okay. Whereas in Karnataka, 72% people, they purchased wheat from public distribution system.
That's a major difference.
Yeah. So if you, so this is the numbers. How you can convert it into visual? So what I attempted, I asked the student that use just wheat data and wheat purchase in the rural area. I put all this data here. Now this is coming like a graph. You see here. So I used the data in India map. Like if you look at the India chart, so the blue denotes the. I also put colors so that you can understand. The red denotes less than 20%. Okay. And then blue denotes 20 to 40%. Orange denotes 41 to 75%.
Okay.
Beyond 75%, green. Okay. No state in the country PDS procurement of wheat is beyond 75%. There is no green here. Okay. The lowest is the blue. So if the blue shows that these are the areas where the people, they do not buy mainly from PDS actually. And if you look at the orange, it is between the 41 to 75%.
Okay. And
then red, like 20 to 40%. Okay. So children or any teacher can explain this India map, and so that when you are drawing in the, when you are coloring this India atlas, they can easily understand which state is performing where. Okay. So the blues are all very low performance in terms of PDS, so that you can understand geographically what are the reasons. These are also the Bimaru regions. If you look at economically, these are all Bimaru regions where this is one way to tell you. I used this was done by the Takshan Jiva and his mother Subhashini, and I also looked at rice. What happened to rice? Look at this data. The green shows that more than 75%. That means all the southern Indian states they are procuring rice beyond 75%.
Okay.
Okay. And if you look at the red, the Rajasthan, the eastern India, and the top, particularly the northern India, the rice procurement is very, very low, less than 1%. Okay. So this is so why I am showing you this, because children can learn geography and economics in an interdisciplinary manner. Actually, that's the advantage of using this the Indian Atlas actually. Okay. So the last one, if you permit me for half a minute.
We've just got 1 minute.
Okay. So if you look at the graph, actually this is called a line diagram. Okay. In my previous session, I told you about poverty data. You can watch the details about poverty, and then now if this data can be plotted in a graph, that's called line diagram. So these two diagrams, the data is same, but how the performance shows differently actually. Okay, so though you may not be studying in class 9th and 10th in a big manner, but it is very much useful by using all these visuals so that you are able to explain the data in a better manner.
Okay, all right. It was a fun session, sir. Knowing the different types of bar, charts, graphs one can use, and economics, it's always interesting. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to all the viewers as well. So you got a bit of social science here, and coming up next is mathematics. Constructions part 3. This is what we are going to talk about, and for all the class 10 students, please watch it on PME with their channel number 10. We're coming back very soon. Don't go anywhere else, and yes, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you. Namaste.